sexual assault. So, say that again because I screwed that up. I'm Linda Kay Gifford, and I am a life coach and author and a survivor of childhood sexual assault, because that's what we're going to call it now. I don't know why I even bought into calling it abuse for so long. I was assaulted and assaulted and assaulted over and over and over again for years. And it's something that has carried with me into adulthood. So in order to save myself, I started doing a whole lot of work. And here I am. Here I am, open and honest, telling you the truth, and I feel so great. Some people are like, you must be so miserable. I get messages, you know, like mean ones too, like, oh, you're so angry. And it's like, no, I'm not. I'm not angry. I'm disgusted. I'm concerned. I'm perturbed. Okay, there's some anger. I've got some anger. Sure, I'm angry. There's my angry eyes. Anyway, yeah, there's plenty to be angry about. But I find it serves no purpose for the most part, except to spur me on. So that's why I keep that file that I talked about the last couple of live streams, and we'll continue talking about your mental office file. We're going to put it on the shelf. Now, this is not a deep dive like Sunday. Sundays are our deep dives where I just keep talking about everything I want to talk about and tie together all of how society and sexuality and spirituality fit together. But Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays now, we're going to get more structured here. So what I'm trying to say is I'm going to try to stick to an agenda. Not good at that. I am in my personal life. I'm very well ordered. I have Asperger's syndrome, and I like things ordered. So I'm very organized. Annoyingly so, I'm told. But I want to talk today about body memory some more, because we've touched on body memory, and I've had multiple conversations with people. So it's obviously something we need to keep talking about. Body memory, obviously, it's going to be the thing we'll probably talk most about because it's the hardest thing to get rid of. Body memory is the part of your past, part of our, whether it was abuse, neglect, war trauma, survivor guilt, whatever your PTSD trauma is. This isn't specifically for childhood sexual abuse survivors like myself tonight. Much of the trigger management that I'm teaching now seems helpful to my friends and new friends who also have had emotional neglect, and especially survivor guilt. Survivor guilt is a tough thing. When you don't know why you made it out and people you love didn't, it's very, very similar to what us assault victims, I don't like the word victim, really not wild about the word survivor either, to tell you the truth, but what we go through. And the similarity is shame. And that's why the first step, and this is going to be a quicker, again, this is our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday live stream, so we're not going to go 40 minutes tonight, so I'll dive right in here without addressing politics and all the stuff I'd like to say about politics and all that I will on Sunday in the recap of the week. But let's get right into SPADES. SPADES is the anachronym that I've come up with, and the way to remember it, I guess, is call a spade a spade. One thing, call abuse, sexual abuse, assault, because it is abuse, but it is more importantly, and first, and on top of abuse, if you're going to subcategorize, the number one is assault. Because the first thing, the assault led to and was part of the abuse. But by not calling it assault, we are doing a disservice, because words matter. I was talking with my therapist. Many of you know it's Therapist Tuesday. I talk to my therapist every Tuesday, and I really love to do that as a prelude, because I talk to her about all the things and things I write down all week before I come to you. And she was really excited about my file analogy that I spoke of at the top of this, and we're going to go back there now. think of your mind as a place that you control. And you have to. If you keep saying, I can't control my mind, I can't control my mind, every week, every day you come here and then I'm not doing my job and I don't know how to help you. Message me and I'll try to work with you a little bit. But if you can't get past that mindset, then this isn't your place. This is a live stream for survivors. This is a live stream for people who want to get better, who don't want to wallow in PTSD, who would like, if they're on medication, maybe to not be, maybe to experience the fullness of life and deal with the problem that you have and not drug away all of your other emotions. I'm very concerned because the number one treatment immediately is they try to figure out what drugs to get you on. I mean, I've read a lot about this, talked to my therapist about this. If you go to the doctor and talk to them about your PTSD, they're going to try to get you on a drug regimen almost across the board. So be super careful because it's good to seek help. But I recommend you go to a counselor, not a psychiatrist. They're about pills, not about really helping you. I mean, they're about helping you kind of, but still they're really into this pill regimen thing. And that's not what you need, probably. If you're not already on them, at least please first try the mental training, super easy mental training too. Like everything, it's about repetition. It is about repetition. So body memory came up in the last couple of live streams along the talks about the new emerging, not so new, but the emerging science of realizing that those of us subjected to long-term assault, abuse, or neglect in childhood at a time when your body is literally growing and your brain is literally still growing, because of the disassociation necessary to continue being assaulted and still act relatively normal the rest of the time, it's disassociation. And we've talked about that right there. Many people would stop me and be like, well, why did you do that? Why didn't you tell? Why did you let it go on? Blah, blah. Well, we've talked about that in my Facebook live streams, and we're going to talk all about that in depth, I promise you, over the next weeks, over our Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday sessions here. But I don't want to get too deep into that. There are obvious reasons why we don't tell. We don't tell because you guys don't want us to, because we are trained to accept things as a child, because things that are perpetrated by somebody that we know and otherwise trust, we don't realize is wrong. And when we do, we tend to romanticize, grandiose, figure out. I don't mean romanticize in a loving way. I mean, the whole thing becomes bigger than life and you disassociate, you go away. Body memory is tied in with the disassociated parts. Trauma, like every memory, things come to you and then you process them and you put them away in chronological order in your brain. I'm going to just touch on this because we did it the last couple of days, but I've talked with multiple people in my message threads about this in the last 2 days. So I just want to touch on it again. And I also said something wrong. I realized listening to my live stream. I had said that complex PTSD, which means long-term, essentially complex, when it's something that's not a one thing you have to get over. It's like it's more for survivors of like me who spent years and years just being part of a thing that I had to disassociate from, or war. Soldiers often have been in repeated situations of trauma. So again, there's a big correlation between soldiers' experiences and those of assault and assault survivors. So this part of your brain is connected to the part of your brain that takes everything in real fast, right? And in order to survive, it's been discovered that those subjected to long-term childhood abuse, assault, neglect, or wartime things. Not wartime, actually, unless they're children. This is children. You have to be a child because your brain's still growing. You don't actually grow as many connections. I had said something that made it sound like they were being destroyed by the abuse. That's not true. But the thing is, they didn't grow in the first place. So I have an extraordinary ability to disassociate. I still do in my adulthood. I could disassociate like nobody's business. I can slip into roles and play them. That's why we talk about alters. I don't have alters in the Sybil sense, but I definitely know that there are personas that I wear like wardrobing to handle certain situations. I'm not just a certain person all of the time. The only place I'm really the most me is right here, to tell you the truth. I'm talking to my computer. It looks like I'm talking to you, but I'm talking to my computer. And I'm bearing my soul in the hopes that you can heal if you are a survivor, or you can talk yourself into getting out of the situation if you're still a victim, or, and there's a lot of and/ors actually. I'm here because it makes me feel better, because the last step in my anachronym SPADES is about educating and advocating and speaking up. Speak up. So briefly, trigger management breaks down to this. S, the shame is not yours. Throw that shit off. It's hard to do, but whenever you feel something that makes you want to not think about what happened to you, or not think about your part in it, or whatever, then stop. Grab it. Don't let it go back inside. Don't let it go back inside. Take that file I told you about, your mental office file, and take that. Here's something that happened to me. It sucks. That was abusive. That was wrong. I'm going to put it in the file. Now put it on an open shelf where you can see it. Don't need to open it, but you need to remember. You need to remember the bad stuff just enough to know I'm not going back. So I say, take all of the stuff you've repressed and pushed down that comes up and rears its ugly head as PTSD episodes, like that drive us down that rabbit hole that I've been talking about. I'm not going to go into that because I've spent a whole lot of time on that. Instead, you're going to just use that compartmentalization ability you have, lock that shit away in a file, boom, put it on your figurative mental shelf, put it in the broad daylight, think like, not where it's like super obvious, but not where it's buried either, somewhere that if you need to access it, you can, but mostly you want to just acknowledge it once in a while and go, oh yeah, I'm not hiding anything. I'm a sexual abuse or a sexual assault. See, even it's so hard for me to switch to saying assault. And it's so wrong to say I was abused when I was assaulted and assaulted and assaulted for years. I mean, come on. Words matter, as I said earlier. So that file, it tells me that's a category that I belong to, and it gives me great comfort now to belong to that category because, well, for one thing, I don't have a choice. I'd much rather not be in the club, but being in the club, that file says it's off of me now. I have flung it off of me. I have set it aside. I'm acknowledging it. I'm not hiding it. I'm not burying it. There it is. Just like you, we are sexual assault survivors, and that is something that we can use now. We're not going to whine about it and cry about it. It's a fact. So we're going to use it as a launching pad, a jumping off point, the center of our being. I mean, not the center of your being the center of your persona. It's part of you. So now that you accept it, you can deal with it. Now you can look at it, and that body memory, the hardest stuff to get rid of. And honestly, I have never found a way to completely eliminate body memory. And everything I've read says the same thing. The most luck they're having is with regrowing connectivity in the brain through hyperbaric chamber, putting you in it. It's fascinating that they can actually do this. New science is hopeful for PTSD sufferers. But you know what's also hopeful is getting off the drugs, carefully with your doctor's help, and getting into some mental training. And they make it all complicated. And I've read so many books and so many things, and you know, I've got the equivalent of a master's in interpersonal and organizational communications, taken, you know, tons of coursework in interpersonal communications and gender communications and deception and credibility and all these things. And it's like, you know, what it comes down to is common sense. You don't need all that stuff. You need spades. Shame is not yours. P, separate the past from the present. And we talked a lot about how to do that yesterday, right? A, ask for what you want. Ask for what you want. Don't take what you're given. Ask for what you want. D, don't want to feel okay to be okay. Be okay. Go do things. You're never going to be not a survivor. You're never going to be able to never think about it again. In fact, the more you try not to think about it, the more it's going to come up at inappropriate times and haunt you. One of the best things I did was finally tell my now partner, lover, person I adore, told him we had worked together 30 years ago, actually, and then hadn't seen each other in 27 years. But I told him, 24 years, that this had happened to me, and that it's not a big deal, but that sometimes I may seem weird for a moment or whatever, and I have to get control of some triggers. And we came up with kind of like a little code thing. It didn't have to have any big discussion, just like, okay, you know. And there's only been one incident in our whole relationship where I had a trigger, and it had nothing to do with him. It's just, again, you can be walking down the grocery aisle and you just never know what's going to happen. But it was something that like got written out, and that instead of the person that I care about not knowing what the hell is going on, it's like, oh, she has PTSD. She's a survivor of sexual assault. She must be having a moment. Okay, moment's over. Boom. Everything's great again. So this is what I can teach you. This is what I want to teach you. I want you to be as happy and joyous as I am. And that being said, I've got tons of financial problems. My car needs a differential. I'm waiting on Car Shield to cover it, and it took them forever to send the inspector. Still waiting for them to go get it inspected and fixed. I could go on and on about stuff. I have GI problems that have gone on for 7 months now, ever since I had COVID, never gone away. But you know what? I am joyful and happy because I choose to be. And it's choice. So I hope that you choose also to be joyous and happy. And I'm going to tell you something that came up with a conservative. I like to tell people what not to do with sexual assault survivors. And this is a big one, because with all these crazy ass laws, taking away women's rights to abortion, criminalizing doctors who provide them. I mean, it's shocking what's going on in America right now. We'll talk a lot about that on Sunday. But don't tell someone who was raped and then forced to carry a child that child is a blessing from God. Okay? It's going to be hard. Everyone wants to believe they can love their child. And it seems like people who have decided to keep their children do feel great love for them. And they advocate that abortion is horrible and that everybody that was raped should have to have it because they're going to love that child. It's a meme that comes into mind here. It said, the first thing you need to know about me is I'm not you. After that, everything will make a lot more sense, you know. And I'm going to use that in this because if a person who has been raped and is pregnant does not want that child, how dare you force them to have that child? How dare you talk to them and tell them that child is a blessing? What you're saying is God works in such mysterious ways that God allowed, not just allowed, God arranged. These people are also fatalists. They also think it's all set up. You know, this is God's plan. That's such a cop-out. Everything is God's literal plan. I believe in God, don't get me wrong. My God is love and kindness and goodness, and the communion I take is the love and kindness and goodness that I bake into the bread, and the bread I eat is not the body of Christ, it is the body of love and kindness and goodness. So that's me, you do you. But don't you dare tell in any way, try to say that God would have a girl or woman raped just to bring someone into being. Because if God would do that, God is an asshole, son of a bitch, who I want nothing to do with. I don't believe it for 1 minute. God works in mysterious ways is a cop-out. If God's an asshole, I don't want anything to do with God. But my God is not an asshole, so don't do that. It pisses me off so bad. God wanted the baby to be here. So he had someone rape you? Really? I don't think I have to go on with that. You know, I don't. I mean, basically, if God is an asshole, if your God is an asshole, get a new God. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Wow. So anyway, don't want to go on too long tonight. I'm going to say goodnight. I'm going to talk to you guys again tomorrow. And I want to get deeper into asking for what you want and masturbation. So seriously, that's what I wanted to talk about, and not to be sensationalistic, but if anything will bring you back, you know, hopefully it will, because masturbation is the best. And it's not the best, but it's definitely better than bad things or false things. It's the best. Except for sex with your partner that you awesome want to be with. That's also the best. There's two kinds of best. Masturbation is not a replacement for sex, and sex is not a replacement for masturbation, but you're way better off being sexually good at masturbation than being so hard up that you make bad decisions sexually with others. I'm going to think about that more. You too. And I'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30. Bye-bye. Oh, and Kay Gifford, like, subscribe. Really, even if you're never going to watch it again, even if you think I'm a dork, please, I need 100 subscribers so that we can get a custom URL. And it's not vanity. We're raising money for the SWEETSurvivor Rescue Fund. I own FeelGoodFairTrade.com. I just forgot to shamelessly promote it tonight. I think I just put it in there. FeelGoodFairTrade.com, but also SweetSurvivor.com, which is right now directed to Feel Good Fair Trade because all of our jewelry and scarves are in support of Sweet Survivor. I am so close, like this week, to opening our new Sweet Survivor site with merchandise to support the fund to provide transportation to victims of childhood sexual abuse and trafficking. I would very much appreciate your support. Stay tuned to know how. Come back because I will be unleashing a subscription, $5 a month subscription, and begging you to join it. I'll be begging you, so come back. I need to work on this, don't I? Talk to you tomorrow.